Hi everyone. I wanted to distinguish between the terms endemic, epidemic, and pandemic. We've been hearing a lot about the COVID-19 pandemic. So, how do these other terms relate to that, and what does a pandemic actually mean? If a disease is endemic, it means it's normally found in a specific region. So, if you think about diseases that are endemic to upstate New York, they can include things like influenza, a lot of sexually transmitted disease like HPV, um, HIV, AIDS is endemic to New York State. So there's a lot of diseases that are around. The common cold is endemic to New York State. So endemic means it's just a disease that's commonly always found in your region. One of the things we want to figure out is COVID-19 going to become endemic? Is it going to become a disease that's always around? And that's yet to be determined. So we have our endemic diseases. See if you can think of any others. And then every once in a while, a disease becomes epidemic. And epidemic means that there's a higher than normal number of cases in a specific region over a specific amount of time. And so we get epidemics on regular basis and sometimes unpredictably. And so every winter we have a flu epidemic in the United States. So you hear about flu season being determined, usually, I don't know, when does it start? Like October to March or something like that, that we have a natural flu season where we have a high number of flu cases over what's commonly occurring day to day in the other months. So we have a seasonal flu epidemic. You might even get epidemics like a measles epidemic where, I remember a few years back there was one that started off at people that were going to Disney, and it turned out there were a lot of people around that were unvaccinated. And so in some regions where there's a lot of unvaccinated people, we might get some measles epidemics. So you'll get a high number of cases in a short period of time in a specific region. Now, COVID-19 started off as an epidemic, and you probably remember that it started off in China. And so we were tracking that, and specifically the organization that does a lot of this tracking is the World Health Organization. And they said there was a COVID-19 epidemic going on in China, but gradually we realized that that disease was spreading in other parts of the world, and we were seeing a large number of cases in many different places. So this is something that we renamed that epidemic as a pandemic. And so a pandemic is a worldwide epidemic. Now, there's one thing that makes a pandemic unique from these other terms, and that's that typically a pandemic is caused by a new disease. Now, for example, if measles were causing an epidemic, it's unlikely that it would spread extensively throughout the world because of two things. One is many people in the world are vaccinated and have an immunity to it, and in addition, there are people that have naturally had measles and have a natural immunity to it. So the chance that something like that would spread throughout the world and cause a pandemic is highly unlikely. But a disease like COVID-19, that is a brand new disease to humans, has the potential to cause a pandemic because there's so many people that, in fact, almost everybody will be susceptible to it. Years ago, starting in the 1980s, we started the HIV pandemic. It started in Africa, and again, it was a new disease that people were not had no natural immunity to. Now, it turns out that there's a small percentage of people, I think it might be about 5% of people, that do have natural immunity to HIV. They're just genetically unable to get it. But that's a pretty low number, and it allowed the disease to become a pandemic. And as a result, it became endemic in most of the world also. So endemic, epidemic, and pandemic. Currently, the World Health Organization has described COVID-19 as being a pandemic. And so this is something that we would like to reduce the numbers enough and get it under control. and either eradicate it, mm, maybe not likely, but make it endemic and control any epidemics that occur.